Medin de Adwa Elizabeth, me firi Benin Kwanta. Me swara no pa, me pra me fie, na makobola, na mabesin ko nsuo. Nsuo no me kom yensa. Me ko be duru wi na bibia sigya so. Na me dware me mma no, na omuko school, na me si nioma, na me ye aduane. Ebi ka anwumere na mase ayusu sansu kro na asan de ye aduane. Satima nsuo no ma na etwa kwansi ni be nsia. First na ye sori be no nan no num ne yakope nsuo. Nso na de etime da ma de chance yakosa nsuo nti aboae. Say matu ama ya wi ye mutu ye soso no say eno an ye sabde ye bibia e ma ye nya yade bia mfiri ho nti omo mbetu nsuo no ne ye bo omo aba so.
This borehole was funded by Agence Française de Développement. For almost 30 years, AFD has supported Ghana's development by intervening in energy, the private sector, agriculture, urban infrastructure and access to water.
The AFD funded peri-urban, rural and small town water supply and sanitation project was launched in Brongahafo, Sunyani in the year 2009. The target was that 15 small towns will have access to water supply, and we also provide 670 boreholes with hand pumps, as well as 20 hand-dug wells with hand pumps. We hired a private sector to form and train Watson committees who would manage the facility on behalf of the beneficiary community. So with these systems in place, the water supply facility is operated and maintained well, so that it will be there always for them to provide the water that they need.
Les objectifs de l'Agence française de développement en Afrique, c'est la réduction de la pauvreté et donc c'est finalement l'accès aux services de base. L'accès à l'eau et à l'eau potable fait partie de ces services de base. Et aujourd'hui, le Ghana a atteint un des objectifs du millénaire qui est l'accès à l'eau. L'Agence française de développement a contribué à l'atteinte de cet objectif à travers plusieurs programmes d'adduction d'eau, essentiellement au milieu rural. Et aujourd'hui, on a des résultats. On peut dire que des centaines de milliers d'habitants au Ghana ont été reliés à de l'eau potable à travers des programmes de l'AFD. Le programme que l'on développe aujourd'hui dans la région Mongafo en est un.
The project has no doubt made a huge impact on the living conditions of the people as far as hygiene, health, and economic development is concerned. But the small town water supply systems are dependent on power supply from the national electricity grid. It means that when there are power outages, water cannot be pumped from the boreholes to feed the storage tanks to serve the people. So it is imperative that the power supply becomes reliable.
Quels que soient les secteurs dans lesquels l'Agence française de développement au Ghana travaille, on se rend compte que le premier problème, c'est l'accès à l'énergie. Donc on a, au cours des dernières années, mis l'énergie au tout devant de notre agenda stratégique.
Half of Ghana's energy output comes from hydropower plants. On the Volta, the Akosombo and the Pong dams are the two cornerstones of the country's hydropower infrastructure. With an installed capacity of 1,050 and 160 megawatts respectively, they were built 50 and 33 years ago. To maintain the capacity of the Pong Dam, AFD is funding the rehabilitation of its 4 turbines through a loan to the Ghanaian government, which is reallocated to the Volta River Authority. These works will extend the dam's performance for another 20 years, thus securing Ghana's energy autonomy in the medium term. Behind this quantitative objective is another goal: protect the environment and climate.
L'Agence française de développement a fait de l'énergie le fil rouge de son histoire au Ghana. On est présent dans ce secteur depuis le tout début des années 1990. Aujourd'hui, les enjeux sont différents. On est plus sur des problématiques d'énergie renouvelable. Le Ghana a des ambitions donc en termes d'agenda climatique, comment lutter contre le dérèglement climatique. Donc l'Agence française de développement Ghana va se positionner sur des projets d'énergie renouvelable et des projets hydroélectriques.
AFD's involvement in the Ghanaian energy sector is not confined to power generation. Power transmission is also a key objective. The construction of a high-voltage line from central Ghana to the Burkina Faso border will ultimately help redistribute energy. This will facilitate the rebalancing of productive forces between the industrialized south and the more rural north, where infrastructure is sorely lacking. For 30 years, AFD has also been supporting transport infrastructure projects to open up Ghana's northern regions. Rural bridges, for example, built in 2008, now facilitate the movement of people and goods.
The situation was not good. Somebody sick from the other side of the river can't get access to the hospital just because of the water. It was a problem to even get to the market during the rainy season. Even cross the river was a problem. People used to lose their lives in the water. But now the construction of the bridge has put us in a better position. Now that we've had the bridge, our children, they just walk to the school and attend their school and they go back successfully. It's now good for the farmers, just because now we can transport our foods easily without any problem. We use this profit, we use it to educate our children, to send them to school for better future.
L'Agence française de développement au Ghana a toujours mis un point d'honneur à équilibrer la répartition de ces projets en mettant l'accent sur notamment toutes les régions nord. Ce déséquilibre nord-sud se retrouve dans le secteur de l'agriculture avec la production des denrées alimentaires dans le nord du pays.
Ghana is located between the Gulf of Guinea coast to the south and the Sahel in the north, and has always been able to rely on a strong agricultural sector. This sector accounts for almost a third of Ghana's GDP, against 1.5% in France, and employs some 40% of the population. It is at the heart of Ghana's economy. For some years now, Ghana has placed rice at the top of its farming priorities, with a dual agenda: meet growing domestic demand while limiting costly imports. Food self-sufficiency and raising farmers' living standards are therefore real development challenges. So, for the last 25 years, AFD has been funding projects to transform lowlands into rice fields, particularly in the 3 regions of northern Ghana, where food security remains an important challenge.
I am in a person called Mr. Richard Akimboya. I do farming every day. Other crops like guinea corn or corn itself is for family consumption, but rice, we can sell it. The income can help me to pay my children's school fees. And you know, without money, you cannot go to hospital. So when we send the rice to the market and have the money, we can also use the money for our own health. We are going to gain more. We are going to gain more rice. As we have been trained through all this source, we can do it ourselves now.
In Ghana, rice production is from 3 ecologies: irrigation, lowland, rain-fed, and then the upland. But Ghana has a lot of rain-fed lowlands, and that needs to be improved with water harvesting and regulatory structures like this one to ensure that we harvest the water and they stay in the paddy fields and it becomes available for the crop and for it to grow properly and to give sufficient yield.
Aujourd'hui encore, on est toujours dans ces problématiques, produire plus, produire mieux, former les agriculteurs, construire les infrastructures, les bas-fonds de façon pérenne, finalement pérenniser toute la filière du secteur du riz, depuis la création des semences et jusqu'à leur distribution, voire leur transformation.
So the main objective is to organize the various aspects of the rice value chain and make sure that they function effectively and then increase rice production and productivity in the country.
AFD has been working with Ghana for the past 30 years in the sectors of agriculture, urban infrastructure, access to water and energy, making the country one of the most outstanding examples of development in sub-Saharan Africa, with an average growth rate of 7.5% since 2005. At the same time, through Proparco, its private sector financing arm, the group supports investment, which creates wealth, jobs, and economic growth. Proparco is a partner of Ghanaian banks, to which it allocates long-term loans in order to support the local economic fabric, especially small and medium-sized companies. This is what is called banking intermediation.
My name is Kate Kwoti Papafio. I'm the CEO of Riroy Cables. We started as a very small company, as a family company, and now Riroy Cables have employees, about 105 people working with Riroy. An industry like this, you can't do without the banks. You can't do without loans. You can't do without credit facility. We need the credit to move forward, and we have to really work hand in hand with the banks. So I would say that without the banks, there is no way that an industry like this will grow to where it is now. Because if the loans are quite expensive, it doesn't really help us to grow.
Riroy was a small company. It had potential. It was developmental in nature. It's in the construction sector. It wasn't using child labor. It was creating jobs. And we realized that if we push that company, instead of 10 jobs, it could create 300 jobs. You know? So yes, the impact, the economic impact, the social benefits, they're clear. And it's simply because they got patient capital in a form of debt that was appropriately priced, not too expensive, and at a period for repayment that was long enough.
La banque est un moyen efficace d'allouer le capital. La banque a une vision locale de ce qui doit être développé et qui peut véritablement avoir un impact qui est quelque part plus fine que celle que peut avoir l'Agence française de développement. Donc l'Agence française de développement a toujours mis l'industrie bancaire au cœur de sa stratégie en donnant les moyens aux banques de prêter. Derrière, ça permet à l'entreprise de croître, d'employer, de fournir des services clés pour le Ghanéen. Et donc, ça crée tout naturellement de la croissance.
Support for the private sector through banking intermediation is one of the cornerstones of the development assistance provided by AFD in Ghana. This support will be scaled up in the future, as its diversity in terms of development makes it a major growth driver. For 30 years now, AFD experts have been working to support all the facets of development in Ghana.
30 ans de l'Agence française de développement au Ghana, c'est une belle histoire. Des secteurs clés, ils sont encore présents aujourd'hui, avec des enjeux qui ont évolué au fil du temps et des projets dont on est fier aujourd'hui parce que répondant à des enjeux clés. On réalise qu'à travers notre action en tant que banque de développement, on fait bouger les lignes et on change le quotidien des Ghanéens. Et finalement, c'est ça le développement.
They tell you that they have one of the basic requirements for human life that make them happy and make them live better.
Na se nkora ne tumi anya yade bia na omunyini a ombetumi abeye mpanyimpa. Sese me ba ko school bitimi hia na ma ne ko school a sana akoye nursing training ana oye koye teacher.
We cannot give up. If you know how to use DFI money, it can really help.
The sub-region needs development. This is the time for Africa.
The future is unknown, but we have to do it.